This is Nddc Today.
Hello. It's no longer news that the Minister of the Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has ordered a forensic audit of the NDDC. Everybody knows that by now. And has set up an interim management committee to do so. The committee has swung into action. And just to show the verve with which they intend to work in the commission, the acting managing director, Dr. Joy Nunye, called a press conference where she elucidated on some issues that were making the rounds.
The acting managing director of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Dr. Joy Nunye, says the commission has suspended the monthly payment of 1 billion naira to a consultant that collects money from international oil companies, IOC, on its behalf. Dr. Nunye gave this directive during an interview with newsmen at the NDDC headquarters in Port Harcourt recently. She noted that the commission did not need middlemen to collect statutory funds due to it.
The contract as collection agent. So whether you go to their office or not, you receive the money has been suspended by me. We're not going to pay anybody 1 billion naira every month. I mean, that is wicked. The money should just be paid to NDDC's account, to the CBN. We don't need a middleman.
Dr. Nunye noted that the money being paid to the agent unnecessarily could be used to provide certain basic amenities in rural communities in the Niger Delta.
1 billion every month can put monopumps in rural communities in the Niger Delta, can buy books, can set up the primary health centers. Why would anyone do that? So that has been suspended. The 3% from Styline has been, of course, it's not going to be renewed. That too is over.
Speaking further, Dr. Nunye stated that political interferences were setting the commission backwards. She said that her desk was overflowing with files waiting for payment, even from companies belonging to one individual.
So political interference, yes, and that's why you have all of these files. And all this noise is that even those who are ignorant, don't know why the noise is coming, join somebody in participating in rejecting us or trying to play an opposition politics. How can someone have 87 companies here? These are the files for payments. 87 companies, bills. They have other companies that have been paid previously.
On the issue of the contractors going back to sites, Dr. Nunye stated that things were beginning to improve as many of such contractors have gone back to site since she mounted the saddle as MD CEO of NDDC.
I'm very grateful that most contractors have gone back. We now have about 57 contractors that have gone back to site, and I'm encouraging everyone to go back to site so that things will be done properly, and then you get your money if you've actually executed your jobs.
Addressing the issue of the legitimacy of the three-man interim management committee, Dr. Nunye wondered why people were misconstruing the situation, observing that although the NDDC Act was silent on the matter of an interim management committee, the president had the right to set up the body.
The Act is silent about anything about interim, so the president has the right to set up an interim committee.
On the issue of appointment of the commission's chairman, Dr. Nunye had this to say.
First of all, you can't put something on nothing. The Act is clear. The Act says after Cross River, Delta is supposed to be the chair. And let me say this, I'm in a position to say this because Mr. President actually nominated me as the chair of NDDC. And then we realized that it was not the turn of River State. So, like an obedient Nigerian who has respect for the constitution of this country, I bowed out and accepted to serve this country as a state rep. I think that was the honorable thing to do. I didn't protest. I didn't call Rivers people to say I must. And I'm a bit embarrassed when you say, no, don't worry, we don't want Delta, we don't want it. We don't want it. Okay, I don't take it. You can't say that. You can't. The law is the law. The act itself. No one can say, we don't want it. Let this person take it. The president is respecting the act and will not compromise. If the act says that after Cross River, Delta should be the chairman, why would anyone say no, ignore it?
Also speaking on the subject of the forensic audit ordered by the president, Dr. Nunye assured that everything was on course.
The forensic audits are quite deep and detailed, and I think that's what's causing all this panic. We're not going to do the audits ourselves. We're going to get international firms that are highly reputable. The adverts are on. They are actually going to carry out the audits. We would just be supervising. We have no direct roles to play. So there's no issue of being biased. We will just make sure everything runs smoothly. And our role also would be that we would be able to run the commission whilst this is going on.
Speaking on our focus as the boss of the NDDC, Dr. Nunye stated that her objective was on rural development in the Niger Delta.
We're looking at rural development, and for me, it's about rural development. We're trying to make sure to see how quickly we can get water, if possible, before Christmas. It might just be a tall order, but for every village, we've asked all our directors in all the states to come up with a list of villages. Let's try to see how we can use existing infrastructure to get water to everyone who's there. No big contracts. Get the locals who are plumbers to try to see how they can get the monopumps and all to work, how we can get the pharmaceutical companies to help us, get medications to the primary health centers, and to see, we're going to work a lot with the donor agencies. It's not just about making money. This is the dream of the people of the Niger Delta.
The acting managing director of the NDDC, Dr. Joy Nunye, at a press conference telling people exactly what she intends to do and justifying the work of the committee. Now, of course, we should note that the Rivers State government is the host of the NDDC. So any goodwill person would, of course, pay a courtesy visit to the governor to say, we're here and we need your support, which is what exactly the acting managing director did, led a delegation of NDDC directors and stakeholders to see the governor and to say, we're here, we need your support.
The Niger Delta Development Commission's headquarters is located in Port Harcourt, capital of Rivers State. And as they say, charity begins at home, which informed the decision of the newly appointed Interim Management Committee of the NDDC to kick off its visits and familiarization tour to all the governors of the Niger Delta states, with a courtesy visit to the Executive Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, at the Government House, Port Harcourt. The NDDC team was led by the Acting Managing Director, Interim Management Committee, Dr. Joy Nunye, the Acting Executive Director, Finance and Administration, Chief Ibanga Basietang, the Acting Executive Director, Projects, Dr. Cairo Ojogbo, and some directors of the Commission. Governor Wike congratulated the Interim Management Committee on their appointment, as he noted that members of the executive management team of the NDDC are all from the Niger Delta, and implored that they should be supported in the task of rebranding the NDDC.
So for now, put the house in order. That's what I thought you were set up to do. Make sure they audit the forensic. We asked for it. Niger Delta governors, NDDC governors asked for it. And we told the president to also set up the governing council as required by the advisory council as required by law. So we'll be interfacing with the board.
Barrister Wike further charged the new Interim Management Committee to have the capacity and political will to right all the wrongs that have befallen the Commission over the years, and use the opportunity given them by the federal government to help refocus the Niger Delta Development Commission.
Please, Ibu should work for the interest of Niger Delta, and I urge all our people, both at National Assembly, both at the Executive Council, it will not help us if we continue this way. The way we are doing it, dividing our house, it will not work. So everybody should have you. You will not be there permanently.
While noting that the NDDC had since been politicized, Governor Nyesom Wike urged the Interim Management Committee to help form fruitful partnerships and collaborations between the NDDC and governments of all the Niger Delta states, and appealed to all Niger Deltans to come together to develop the region.
It's the interest of the people of the region.
Yes, sir.
Speaking earlier, the acting MD of the NDDC, Dr. Joy Nunye, informed Governor Wike that the NDDC, as presently constituted, is determined to partner with the Niger Delta state governors and encourage collaborations with the state governments to facilitate development in the region.
I want to beg of you, My Excellency, that you encourage a collaboration between the River State government using your infrastructure, services, and to encourage us and all the citizens of River State to partner with us as NDDC.
The Chief Executive Officer of the NDDC indicated the willingness of the Commission to work with the River State Ministry of Health to get health care to rural communities in the state.
I would like to appeal to you, sir, that we would like to also work with your medical team, or at least the Ministry of Health, for your primary health care centers, so those in the rural communities can at least have access to medication. We would like to partner with you using your infrastructure of monopumps, especially. That would be the quickest way for all the communities in the state to work and collaborate with your government for potable water, where the underground water is not contaminated, of course.
I can tell you, it was a very dramatic visit to the River State Governor Nyesom Wike, and everybody came out of that meeting slightly a bit more reassured that the River State government, the host, would support the NDDC. Now, after that, of course, the committee had to go on an inspection tour of various projects. Now, we said at the beginning that when everybody was talking about the NDDC, nobody said they hadn't done anything. What people were saying, well, you know, let the money they've gotten be commensurate with what they have done. So the new management had some projects, of course, to see.
The acting managing director of the NDDC, Dr. Joy Nunye, last week inspected the state of work on the 4.72-kilometer Car-Ataba Road and Bridges project. Dr. Nunye was accompanied on the inspection visit by the acting executive director, Finance and Administration, Chief Ibanga Basi Etang, the acting executive director projects, Dr. Cairo Ojobo, and some directors of the commission. Prior to visiting the project sites, the team made a brief stop at the Kana local government headquarters, where they were received by the council chairman, Barrister Latte Lulo, and other community leaders. Dr. Nunye and her team were conducted round the project sites by the project manager, who briefed her on the state of the project. After the project inspection, Dr. Nunye said that the Car-Ataba Road and Bridges project will enable the beneficiary communities and other users cut their travel time and also provide the means of massive evacuation of their farm produce, since most of the inhabitants of the place are predominantly fishermen and farmers.
We have the largest fishing port in Africa here, cut off completely, or Euro cut off. So we need to get access to civilization, get them to get access to education, get them to get access to schools. We hear they only have a primary school there, no secondary schools.
Dr. Nunye further assured the people that the project would be completed by January next year.
This project is a complete NDDC project. The state has nothing to do with it, so we're very proud of it. Even though it has been abandoned for some time, we'll ensure that it's completed within 2 months, hopefully, God willing. And we hope that Mr. President will be here to commission this, and I'm sure the people of Anthony will be very happy.
Earlier, the 3-man interim management committee, accompanied by other directors of the commission, visited the Niger Delta Regional Specialist Hospital on an inspection tour. Obviously not impressed with the abandoned project, Dr. Nunier decried the state of the building, which has now been converted as shelter by some residents of the area.
What you do, because if you are in charge of it, can you move out your people? Because you are supposed to be securing this place for us. Yes. But you have turned it into a business center. We don't want any tenants in any building that belongs to the NDDC. Do you understand? So you ask your tenants to leave.
It is expected that when the project is completed, it will cater for the needs of patients with injuries to skeletal system, associated muscles, joints and ligaments, as well as patients with cardiovascular and other heart conditions. The NDDC team also made a brief stopover at the Nigeria Police Barracks Special Protection Unit Base 6 at Omagwa in the outskirts of Port Harcourt. The complex includes an administrative building and 6 blocks of residential quarters. To ensure that every community in the Niger Delta gets what it deserves, the acting managing director of the Niger Delta Development Commission, Dr. Joy Nunier, in company of other members of the interim management committee and directors of the NDDC, paid an unscheduled visit to one of the commission's warehouses in Port Harcourt recently to inspect equipment and facilities on ground. Equipment and items found at the warehouse include several waste disposal trucks, waste bins, ambulance boats, medicines, mini tractors, firefighting gadgets, electrical equipment, security gadgets and many more. Speaking during the inspection, Dr. Nunier directed that all equipment and items procured by the NDDC, many of which had been in the warehouse for upwards of 13 years for use by the various communities, agencies and state governments in the Niger Delta, should be distributed immediately to communities that need them.
Those riverine communities that we cannot access for medical help, I need this to be, we're going to see the government. So we are going to say that this should be put into use very quickly. We need to get it cleaned up, serviced, and we'll ask the government to work with whoever is in charge so that we get it released to them. And we're going to ensure that every community receives the things that they ought to receive.
Next was the visit to the construction site of the permanent headquarters complex of the NDDC in Port Harcourt to assess progress of work done on the project. While inspecting the project, Dr. Nunier tasked the contractor to ensure that substandard materials are not used for the construction of the building, as the commission was not ready to waste funds on unnecessary repairs. She expressed her satisfaction with the progress of work done so far on the project and implored the contractor to ensure that the project was ready on schedule for use by the commission.
It was not surprising during the week that, a set of people would come to say, we want to support this interim management, we want to support what the government has said should be done about the NDDC, and we want to support the fact that the right people to carry out this exercise were in place. See, Ogoni Defense Council came calling.
The acting managing director of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Dr. Joy Nunier, has tasked youths of the Niger Delta to keep the peace and support the interim management committee of the NDDC, recently appointed by the federal government, to achieve the objectives for which it was set up. Dr. Nunier said this recently in Port Harcourt when members of the Ogoni Defense Council paid a solidarity visit at the commission's headquarters. The chief executive officer of the NDDC further stated that the interim management committee, which recently took over the running of affairs of the commission, is committed to doing what is right to reposition the NDDC to to its rightful place in the region.
The Niger Delta will be great again. So I want to say, be assured, no matter where you're from in the Niger Delta, every village will see that Niger Delta, the NDDC, is coming to your villages. Every village will have water to drink.
Dr. Nunier further assured that under her leadership, every community in the Niger Delta region will henceforth feel the developmental impact of the NDDC.
The Niger Delta will be developed, there will be rural development, and we fear nobody. Every village will have their primary health centers working. We will work with every governor and every citizen of all the states.
She further explained to our audience why she did not honor the invitation of the Senate Committee on the NDDC.
It is not as though I was being disrespectful to the Senate. I have no reason to do that, and it is not in my character. But there is no way that they will make you acting managing director and you will go for state rep screening. Is it that I don't want managing director but I want state rep? I don't want state rep. I will never be state rep again.
Speaking earlier, the leader of the Ogoni Defense Council, Felix Wide, solicited support from all stakeholders for a successful tenure of the Interim Management Committee of the Commission, led by Bene Dr. Joy Nunier.
And as if that was not enough, we had a delegation of the Niger Delta stakeholders visiting the acting MD to say also that they were pleased with what is going on.
Major stakeholders in the Niger Delta region have passed a vote of confidence on the three-man Interim Management Committee approved by President Muhammadu Buhari to oversee the affairs of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. Speaking during a courtesy visit at the NDDC headquarters in Port Harcourt, some of the stakeholders, which included Mr. Ebeka Bowe Victor Ben Boyloaf and Mr. Subo Mabo Jackrich Eberi Papa, told the new management team that the people of the region were behind them. In attendance at the meeting included the Acting Managing Director, Bene Dr. Joy Nunier, Acting Executive Director, Finance and Administration, Chief Ibanga Basi Etang, and the Acting Executive Director, Projects, Dr. Cairo Ojobo. In his speech, Mr. Victor Ben said they were at the NDDC to show solidarity with the management team because they were worried by the conflicting information concerning the Commission in recent times and needed to make their position clear. Victor Ben expressed confidence that the new helmsman at the NDDC would not disappoint the people of the Niger Delta region, stating that the stakeholders only needed to be sure that the team would work in the interest of the people.
We will support you, we try our will behind you, and the only thing just assures that you do a good job for the Niger Delta people.
In his own remarks, Mr. Jack Rich, who is a one-time caretaker chairman of Asari Toru Council, said that with the caliber of people in the management committee of the NDDC, there was no room for failure.
We are happy having you, and we want to tell you that we are solidly behind you. We are going to support you to ensure that you succeed.
In her speech, Dr. Nunier thanked the stakeholders for visiting the NDDC to show support, pledging that the Commission would not disappoint the people of the Niger Delta region. Dr. Nunier restated the resolve of the NDDC to take development to the rural communities.
We're going to take development to the rural communities. We'll meet our brothers and our sisters, our mothers and our fathers at the villages, and we'll bring development to them. They will know that indeed there are people who can make things work.
She thanks the stakeholders for making out time to visit the Commission in solidarity with the Interim Management Committee.
We want to thank you for coming all the way to the NDDC, and I'm sure the next time you visit us, it will be to say thank you and to say indeed you have seen and you now believe that people can do the right thing.
So it's been a very action-filled week for the acting managing director of the NDDC and her team, with all the visits, the touring of the different projects and so on. So now the committee has a fairly good idea of what the situations are on the ground concerning projects of the NDDC. And I'm sure by next week, we'll be reporting some of the solutions that the committee is preferring to tackle them. Thank you for watching. We'll see you then.